Hey, it's Tpok. I'm back in true remembrance. Sorry it's a day late, but yesterday my voice wasn't too good. It's still not the best, but, anyways, I wanted to get this true remembrance out, so, yeah. We left off trying to visit the mysterious girl, so, yeah. But then I realized someone was here with me, over there, where the benches were. It's her. I'd found her. There she was, sitting on the floor, motionlessly. If I didn't know better, I would have thought she was praying, or something like that. She looked toward me when she heard my footsteps, and her eyes went round in surprise when she saw who I was. "Did you come to see me?" she said, her eyes glittering with excitement. Now, that wasn't altogether unpleasant, but man, this was making me want to blush. Pretty much. I was wondering what happened to you, as I haven't seen you around for a while. The girl's face went blank for a moment, but then she managed a small and troubled smile. "Got a little busy. Couldn't leave this place." There was something awfully suspicious about what she just said, but for now I was relieved. She was alive and well. Oh, thank goodness. I was worried, thought something might have happened. Anyway, I'll leave you be. "You're leaving? Already?" "Yeah, I've got a bunch of things to do today, so..." And I felt sorry for her, but I did have to go. If I didn't get this stuff done, it never would be. She looked up at me, down at the ground, and up at me again. Then, diffidently, she asked, "May I come with?" Come with? You do realize I'm heading out of town, right?" "Yeah," she replied sadly. This was the first time she'd ever asked anything of me, so naturally I was taken by surprise. "But you can't go out, can you? You don't have a Mnemonicide protocol permit, so they wouldn't let you back in." "There's a tunnel, underground. Pops used it, when he used to slip out of town." "Pops? Is this law?" Okay, Pops is Anilye. Okay. Use the same route to come see me. No problem if we take that. There was a strange expression in her eyes now. I'd never seen it before. Then I realized what it was. She was desperate. "Please, I really don't want to be here. Nothing but bad memories." Very well then. I finally gave in. "Okay, then you go ahead and use the tunnel. Wait for me on the other end. I'll meet you there." "Okay. Sorry about this." "Don't worry about it. Besides, I'd feel better if you came with me anyhow," I replied with a smile. She just stared at me. Obviously, she had no idea what I was talking about. Her eyes glittered in the dark. And the weird thing was, I was starting to feel better about today already. I took the trolley to First Street, walked to the gate, and showed my ID and my leave authorization to the guard on duty. He looked through all my documentation, nodded, and motioned for the gate to be opened. Not even a Mnemonicide could come and go as he pleased. Not in this city. I'd gotten my leave authorized over at HQ just yesterday, for instance. I walked out of a small side gate. The walls of the city stood behind me. There was nothing for miles around. No matter where you looked, it was all grassy hills and forests. Not a single soul to be seen. It had been a long time since I'd last left the city. Maybe about a year ago, maybe longer. Well, first things first, time to go get my young companion. She'd show me where the tunnel where the entrance to the tunnel was on my map, so it was simple enough to find. And sure enough, there she was, poking her head out from a small hole in the ground. She came out entirely when she saw me and ran up the hill to where I was. "We're going to be walking to the closest town from here. Will you be okay?" "Yes," she replied with a nod and a deep breath of fresh autumn air. And so we started walking. For every hill we climbed, yet another one appeared. My companion seemed to be fascinated by every plant, every tree, every bush, every flower she encountered. She's just like La, okay? She went running every single time something new appeared on the horizon. She was going to be fast asleep when we got home for sure. We arrived in town in due course, and I flagged down a taxi. When I gave the driver my destination, he said, "Oh yes, that's a lovely part of town, isn't it?" He wasn't wrong, by the way. That was my opinion of it, too. Shortly thereafter, the taxi dropped us off at our destination. I headed toward a house at the end of the street with the girl close behind me. The house had a small garden. The lawn was green and well kept, and the flower bed was beautiful. But the most beautiful thing of all was standing there with a hose, watering her garden. I stopped the instant I saw her. My companion looked up at me quizzically. A gentle breeze swept through the area, and it carried with it the fragments of Maria's song. This brought back so many memories. For instance, the last time I'd heard her sing this song, she told me about her dreams. To live in a little house raising lots of flowers. That was all she would say. Such a little dream, yes, but not one that could ever come true in the city where we were born. "This song, beautiful, isn't it?" my companion murmured. "Yeah," I replied with a smile and turned away. At the same time, I heard someone from inside the house calling Maria's name, to which she replied with a bright and cheerful voice, "Let's go." But she stayed there, looking back at Maria and her garden for a long time. We got off the taxi and started heading back toward our city. Except my companion had changed quite a bit. Instead of running around and exploring her surroundings, she was refusing to leave my side. I could still hear Maria's song ringing in my ears. It was such a bright and happy voice, one I'd never heard when we were together. I hadn't seen her in a year. Did people really change that fast? I guess they did. I mean, 5 years ago I'd left the city where I'd been born in order to become a Mnemonicide at all costs. I wanted to make Maria's dream, house and flowers and all, come true. That was the only reason I'd ever had, the only one I'd ever needed. And so I'd lost touch with her for 2 years, couldn't be avoided. Only those with no Mnemonicidal potential were allowed within the confines of the academy, and no one was allowed out until graduation, or washout. The academy was an incredibly peaceful place. I never would have believed it. It was filled with friendly classmates and professors who showed much interest in you as a person. But I had no use for any of that. I turned it all away. It was unfair of me to accept the kindness of others while Maria was left behind to struggle in the dark. Besides, more importantly, I had no idea what to do with the goodwill of others. It was a scary thing. So scared that I probably ended up hurting a lot of people. I didn't hear that Maria had undergone the Mnemonicidal protocol until it was too late. I just lived out my days as a student within these cloistered walls without a care in the world. She never stopped crying ever since the day you left. You had to be removed from her memory, otherwise she herself would have died. That was all Dexter would say to me when I asked him why he'd done it. I turned, only to see that my companion was now walking a little behind me. There were tears running down her cheeks and dripping to the ground. Don't mind me. I'll be fine. It's not me, see? I just have no control over this. These were the exact same words that Annelier was fond of using. Except there was one difference. Unlike Annelier, this girl didn't stop crying. But I was jealous of her, because she was doing exactly what I found myself unable to do when I lost Maria. Instead, I just sat down in a back alley and watched the rain come down on me, completely useless. You're the one who's really hurting, so it's unfair that I'm the one who's crying, right? She tried to smile and desperately dabbed at her eyes, but that didn't stop the tears. In fact, it just made her look more forlorn than she already was. Maybe. See, it's true. It hurts when you break up, or you're blamed, or you're hated. But none of that hurts as much as being forgotten. I finished with a smile. How strange. I never thought I'd be able to talk about Maria with a smile on my face. Because every single time I thought about her, things got difficult. So difficult that I completely forgot how to smile. So I took my companion's hand. She was crying so hard that she couldn't see ahead of her. Let her cry for the both of us. I began to lead her through the hills back to our city. Yes, let her cry enough for both of us. The past was the past. It was never going to come back. My companion didn't seem to want to stay in the church once we got back, so I brought her back to my place. It was dark out. The clouds hung threateningly low overhead. So we had dinner together, and then started reading together as per usual. It started raining right around then. We could hear the raindrops drumming on the rooftop. My companion listened attentively for a few seconds, and then she asked, "That song, It was so beautiful. What's it called?" "I don't know either." "I see," she replied with obvious disappointment. Well, not that I didn't know how she felt. "I want to sing it too, but I've forgotten the words," she said with a wry smile. "I'm sorry, I've forgotten as well." "So why not just scat it? You know, with laws and such." Okay, she is so la right now. "La? Why la?" "Huh? Well, see, it's pretty clean and it works well with singing." She blinked slowly, and then softly she started humming the melody as she remembered it. Her voice was so soft and gentle that the drumming of the rain threatened to drown it out, and yet I heard every last strain. Her voice lost its uncertainty after a while, and it grew stronger and warmer as I listened. I could feel it embracing me, sinking into my every pore, filling me up inside. And as long as I was like this, I felt as if I could forget all the pain and the sorrow that I'd carried with me. The dark city where I was born. The factories where people toiled and died. The dead-end streets and unmarked graves. Maria. Everything was vanishing from within me. Vanishing. I bolted up from my chair. She stopped singing at that instant and looked up at me with surprise. "You." My worst fears had come true. She had no idea what had just happened. So she just stared back at me innocently, and that filled me with burning pain. "I'm going out. I'll be right back," I said as I ran out the door. I was too impatient to even take my umbrella. I just sprinted out into the rain. I took the trolley to First Street to HQ, but Annelier was nowhere to be found. So I came back to Fifth and ran to the church. Oh, I'm mad again. I was totally soaked by the time I saw the stained glass windows in the distance. I ran up the hill and burst into the church. Sure enough, there Annelie was standing at the podium. It took him a long time, it seemed, to realize I was there. Finally, he turned to me and said, "My, won't do to get all wet like that. Take care of yourself. The girl, she at your place again?" Annelie said with his usual dry composure, but I had no time or patience for his platitudes. "Just what is she? Answer me." His face hardened as he fell silent. I continued to glare at him. I wasn't playing any of his games today. She tried to erase my memory just now. I don't think it was intentional. At least not on her part, so tell me, just what are you scheming? Oh, pray tell, what did she do? She sang a song, that's what. I see. A song. Annelie nodded. He seemed so satisfied. But I wasn't about to let him get away with it, so I asked, "She's an Mnemonicide, isn't she? A freaking Omega. Just like you." And of course, Skype has messaged you. He stopped smiling that instant. For a while, he did nothing. But in the end, he nodded curtly. "Correct. That's why I'm raising her." "To what end? What the hell is an Omega, anyway?" Impressive. Most impressive. It only took you, 3 years to ask that question? I've been waiting. But you already know now, don't you? I continued to glare at him, but Annelie just brushed it off. His smile twisted a bit. Obviously, he was enjoying himself. "You've seen it with your own eyes, haven't you? You've been past the gate. I know you have." Right. I'd slipped past the gate on 8th Street, the so-called Gate of Farewell. Every cured patient left this city through that gate, or in a body bag. And honestly, I hadn't had much interest in Omegas until I'd first met Annelie 3 years before. I'd known from the beginning that he was a genius, and not above using underhanded methods to get what he wanted. I'd also known from the beginning that he was using me, but I didn't know why, so obviously I'd been investigating on my own. So one night I'd waited for the changing of the guard at midnight, and used that opportunity to slip out of the gate. I knew that if I was found out, I'd be expelled from town, but I didn't care. I would care if I got kicked out. I was greeted by a white corridor that seemed to stretch on forever. There were little rooms on either side of the hall. I just see a white screen right now. Each room had a big window on its door. I looked into one of them, and was shocked to see a small boy there. "Hello?" He was sitting deathly still on a chair, just staring back at me. But that didn't last for long. He burst into tears in a matter of seconds. It was unreal. There was no sound, no noise, just tears. Okay, we'll find out about this boy next time. But, yeah, I'm gonna end it a bit early just because I gotta edit it and, get messages on Skype. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, and, I'll see you next time.